Some really disturbing details here, and it really is the first time that we are hearing the prosecution lay out their case as to how David Burke, they say, murdered Celeste Rivas Hernandez. It's also the first time we're hearing about a possible motive behind those actions. New court filings today outline disturbing allegations from the prosecution claiming David Burke went to great lengths to murder, dismember, and then conceal evidence after the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. They claim David snapped after Celeste began getting jealous he was seeing other girls. She threatened to make their relationship public, which started when she was a minor, claiming he knew it would end his career and destroy his life. With an impending album and world tour, they say he killed her to keep her silent. They say among evidence they plan to present in court, proof he bought 2 chainsaws, body bags, and other tools to kill her, even using a blue plastic pool to conceal any blood that might spill onto his floor. However, they claim to have found Rivas Hernandez's DNA in his garage.
So really graphic details, but also what David did to cover up these purchases, buying them through an alias.
Documents also claim the links David went to in order to pursue the teen. Before her death, Celeste's family first reported her missing to the Riverside County Sheriff's Department in February. Detectives questioned David about her whereabouts. He claimed to not know she was 13. After she returned home on February 24th, her parents took away her cell phone. That's when the prosecution claims he gave a kid in junior high $1,000 to give the victim a cell phone that he purchased so they could keep communicating.
And on that cell phone, they would exchange sexually explicit images, talk about pregnancy, abortions, Plan B, birth control. I mean, this is not something that is appropriate for any young teenage girl. It's going to be very hard for David to overcome that.
That was former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani breaking down what we learned today from those court documents. Now, the defense actually made a motion in court to try and keep the details of that filing sealed so the public would not be able to learn those details. The judge ultimately denying that request. When it comes to when we will see David Burke back in court, he said just 2 words today to that judge, "Yes, ma'am," when she asked if he agreed with a May 26th preliminary hearing.
David is a freaking monster. He's going to be found guilty, and I am begging my state to implore the penalty of ending it, bruh. I am asking for my state, from which I'm the savior of, born, raised from Northern to Southern California. It ain't a story like mine. Please get rid of this person. I'm not jumping in or nothing. This is going to be 11 minutes of pure horror that I read for y'all, bro. Prepare yourselves, man. And you can see David Anthony Burke versus California, all this stuff. Background facts. The dismembered body of 14-year-old Celeste R. Victim was discovered in the front trunk of the Tesla. We already got all that part, and that was done on September 8th. The vehicle got towed 3 days prior. So that's crazy. They didn't even pay attention to shit, man. Anyway, so surveillance video and other evidence confirm defendant was the last person to drive the vehicle on July 29, 2025, before he left Los Angeles on a concert tour. I did not know that. This is all new. On September 8, 2025, the manager of the tow yard where the Tesla had been impounded noted the strong smell of decay and the presence of flies coming from the vehicle. He notified Los Angeles Police Department, and then all that stuff happened, and the detectives opened the Tesla front storage compartment and observed a black cadaver bag covered in insects. Inside the bag, they discovered a severely decomposed head and torso, a plastic garbage bag beneath the black cadaver bag. I don't even know how to say that. Cadaver? I think that's how you say it, cadaver. I never seen that word before. So anyways, contained in the dismembered arms, legs. However, the victim's ring and pinky fingers on her left hand had been amputated and were not found in the Tesla. On September 16, 2025, the LA County Medical Examiner's Department positively identified the body from dental records as belonging to the victim. Pursuant to their investigation, LAPD robbery homicide detectives determined the victim and defendant met in January 2022 when she was 11 years old. God, dog. Oh, this is hard to read. They began having a sexual relationship in November 2023 when the victim was just 13 years old and the defendant was 18. Detectives learned the victim had been reported missing to the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, RCSD, by her family who live in Lake Elsinore in February and in April of 2024. RCSD telephonically contacted defendant on February 17, 2024, after they identified a phone number in the victim's phone records that belonged to him. So the police knew. During the call, defendant claimed he had spoken to the victim last on February 13th or 14th, 2024, but stated he was unaware she was a minor or that she had been reported missing. So the police advised him that the sheriff's department deputies will be coming to his home. On that day, defendant was living at 804 North Doheny Place in West Hollywood. The police requested that the LA cops conduct a welfare check at defendant's home. LASD deputies went to defendant's home at night at 8:15 p.m. and informed him the victim was a 13-year-old runaway. Defendant again claimed he was unaware she was a minor and he had only met the victim once in person in November 2023. However, defendant showed deputies a yearbook photo of the victim he had on his cell phone. Although he claimed to be unaware where the victim was at the time, she returned home 2 days later. Okay. Despite being informed by law enforcement the victim was only 13, defendant continued to pursue her. After the victim returned home in February 2024, her parents took her cell phone away. Defendant drove to Lake Elsinore and paid a junior high school student in the victim's class $1,000 to give to the victim. A cell phone defendant purchased so they could stay in contact throughout 2024. The victim spent a significant amount of time with the defendant, including summer weekends at his home in Hollywood Hills and traveling with him to Las Vegas, London, and Texas to meet his family. What? Text exchange between the victim and defendant contained references to sex, pregnancy, abortion, and the use of Plan B emergency contraceptive. Holy hell. There are also explicit photographs documenting and corroborating their sexual relationship. Fuck, this is disgusting. In November 2024, defendant and the victim broke up, although they continued to communicate. And text messages suggest they also continue to have sexual relations. April 23rd, 2025 is likely the date of the victim's death and when all her cellular activity ceased. The night prior, April 22, 2025, defendant and the victim engaged in a lengthy argument described in detail in their text messages. The messages revealed the victim's jealousy over defendant relationships with other women as defendant led her to believe they had a future together. She became extremely upset and threatened to disclose damaging information about a relationship with defendant to end his career and destroy his life. Defendant's first studio album was due to be released on April 25, 2025. He had an emerging multi-million-dollar career already in progress. That QR code is going to put 10 in your account. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in your account. That's free cash, just SETI Nash. The app that says, if you play games, you're going to get your, yeah. You hear what I'm saying? So make sure you download the app. As soon as you download the app, they say they're going to put 10 in your account and start playing today. They're going to hit it straight to your account or give you gift cards and all that stuff and everything that y'all like, man. Free cash, SETI Nash on a Wednesday. Time to spends day. Time to Wednesday. W-I-N-S. Because a lot of y'all don't know how to spell Wednesday. It's actually Wednesday. Yeah, I know. Crazy, huh? But hey, let's get to the content. He also had multiple product endorsements, which were highly profitable. So at 8:40 p.m. on April 23rd, 2025, defendant sent an Uber to transport the victim from her Lake Elsinore home to his residence. They communicated before and during her Uber ride, which dropped her off at the defendant's Hollywood Hills home around 10:10 p.m. At approximately 10:30 p.m., defendant sent text messages to the victim inquiring where she was. The people contend this was part of the defendant's premeditated plan to cover up the murder, as she was already dead by this time. Knowing he had to silence the victim before she ruined his music career, as she had threatened, very soon after her arrival at his home, defendant stabbed the victim multiple times and stood by while she bled out. God, dog. At no time did he call law enforcement or 911 or take her to an emergency room to attempt to save her life. Despite knowing she was dead by her family, was trying to find her, and the evidence will show defendant lied and claimed he didn't know where she was. In fact, defendant drove to Santa Barbara County immediately after the victim died, attempting to dispose of her property and destroy evidence. At approximately 11:30 p.m. on April 23rd, 2025, he drove away from his home as he called the victim's phone, asking where she was again. These were acts calculated and planned to set up his defense with a very short timeline after the victim's vicious murder. Defendant drove his Tesla on a 101 freeway to San Marcos Pass Road near Lake I don't know. Capture? I don't know, cuz. I don't know. We got all these damn Spanish names in California, bruh. It is what it is. Camcha, I don't know, in Santa Barbara County. He returned home early the following morning on April 24, 2025, before going to a radio interview for the release of his album that week. He sent 2 additional text messages to the victim's phone that day, which obviously went unanswered because she was already dead. On April 26, 2025, defendant never attempted to contact her again. Tellingly, defendant subsequently purchased tools to carry out his plot to dismember and dispose of the victim's body. On April 24, 2025, defendant ordered a shovel from Home Depot that was delivered to his home on Postmates on May 1st, 2025. Defendant ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered 2 chainsaws to his home on May 5th, 2025. Defendant ordered and Amazon subsequently delivered a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a blue inflatable pool at his home. He made these purchases under the fake name Victoria Mendez. On May 8, 2025, defendant returned to the same area in Santa Barbara County, leaving his home around 11:30 p.m. He returned to the area again on May 31st, 2025. This is an isolated site off of SR 154, where the victim's identification was subsequently discovered in January 2026. Additionally, on July 7, 2025, defendant ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered a burn cage to his home under the fake name as part of his plan to incinerate evidence. Moreover, defendant took horrifying measures to destroy and discard the victim's body after placing her head into the blue inflatable pool to prevent blood from spilling onto his garage floor. Defendant used a chainsaw and perhaps other tools to cut off her limbs. Small blue plastic fragments were found embedded in the victim's remains, which were collected by Los Angeles Medical Examiner's Department. The fragments were analyzed by LAPD's Forensic Science Division Trace Analysis Unit. An expert was able to make the physical fit match from the blue fragments to the blue inflatable pool purchased by the defendant in May 2025. In order to distance himself from the victim, he amputated her left ring and pinky fingers because her ring finger contained a tattoo of his name. Her fingers have not been recovered. Defendant then placed her head and torso into the cadaver bag he purchased. He placed her limbs into the garbage bag, which he deposited in the front trunk, laying over the cadaver bag on top. For several weeks or possible months, defendant left victim's body to decompose inside his Tesla. He lied to friends, business associates, and others who noticed a strong smell of decay in or around his home and vehicle. Before leaving on his concert tour at the end of July, he parked his Tesla on the street around the corner from his home. LAPD served a search warrant at defendant's home, and after the victim was identified by the medical examiner inside the garage, detectives discovered evidence consistent with the dismemberment of the victim's body in the inflatable pool, which contained multiple linear cuts. Several biological samples, which tested positive for blood, were collected within the garage area. DNA analysis determined that various samples matched the victim's unique genetic profile. On December 9th, 2025, medical examiner ruled the victim's death a homicide caused by 2 penetrating injuries to the torso. On January 17, 2025, the victim's U.S. passport card was found by a Caltrans worker in Santa Barbara. The people will present the following evidence at the preliminary hearing, including but not limited to description of photographs depicting the victim naked. God, y'all gonna be crazy as hell watching that shit while she was engaged with the defendant in sexual activity when she was 13. As this evidence constitutes, I don't want to say that part, so I'm not. The 2 photographs themselves will not be presented while all possible charges that could have been proven were not filed. The CSAM is proof of their ongoing sexual relationship. The victim was a effing child, 13 and 14 years old. Numerous text messages between defendant and victim evidencing their sexual relationship, pregnancy, abortion, and use of Plan B emergency contraception. Messages throughout March 2025 prove defendant continued to manipulate the victim as she messaged, "All we do is have sex and just hang out, man. I want more than that for myself." She's 13. Bruh. Defendant's cellular activity and communications derived from defendant's iPhone and Tesla, which demonstrate defendant's activities from April 22nd, 2025 through April 24th, including a trip to Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night after the victim arrived at his Hollywood Hills home. Surveillance video of defendant driving his Tesla on July 29, 2025 for the last time before parking the vehicle and leaving on tour at the end of July. DNA evidence developed from blood stains collected from defendant's garage. Victim matched the victim's genetic profile. Proof of defendant's Amazon purchases and deliveries. So basically, they're just going to lay out how they caught this shit. This brief is assisted to the court in understanding the scope and relevance of evidence the prosecution intends to present at the preliminary hearing. The prosecution has issued numerous subpoenas and is prepared to proceed with the preliminary hearing. The defense has had multiple opportunities to request a continuance, but has not done so. Furthermore, California Penal Code 1050 requires the defense to provide at least 2 court days' notice to request a continuance in view of the limited scope of evidence to be presented at the preliminary hearing. Detailed in this brief, there should be no substantial impediment to moving forward with the hearing as scheduled. Dated this day, the 29th of April, 2026. I watched so many clips, so much stuff happen, so many things, bruh, so much shit that you would think me mad, bruh. And I had to turn it off. This dude is beyond sick, man. And when I say beyond sick, to do this to a little girl, and let's take out the whole kid shit. To do this to somebody that was with you, that trusted you, that put you in position. Bruh, all the whole I didn't know her shit, all the stories, if you wanted to believe this and this and this, all of that shit, bro, from the parents basically getting rid of her cell phone. Like, bruh, we need you to stop this shit. At a certain point in time, right? At a certain point in time, you gotta watch the gifts you give your kids because they become tools of negativity and tools to drive your kids and the shit that they stop being kids and start to throw themselves into adulthood. Was the little girl fast? Yeah. Okay. But even if she is, you a grown-ass man. You should know better. I hope they bury that dude. Bro, I hope I hope we hurry up and get on with this trial. In California, bro, it's going to take 3 years before we get the trial of this shit. We'd be lucky if we get it in 2. But just based off of what they presented, he can't win. Nigga, yeah, all that, he innocent, this and all these conspiracies, bro, that's out. They got text messages of y'all arguing and y'all talking and y'all having all these goddamn conversations, bro. It's to the point where when people say these people manipulate, this is what it means. And this is why you should be uncomfortable with the word fan. Because when we go back and we look at the Discord and all this shit, the Discord basically is of him essentially reaching out to his fans to see who he can indulge in his sick pleasures with. And it just so happened to be a child who idolized this dude, who sat up there and thought she was a whole ass woman. And then we were to believe, bruh, you know what? Celeste this, Celeste that. He told the police that was a grown woman, basically. He didn't say that. What he said was, I didn't know she was a minor. The police had to whip out their damn yearbook to the first pages because y'all know the 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders, and 12th graders. That's how it was for mine. I don't know about y'all's. Maybe y'all got it different. But from my high school, bruh, we had it from 9th grade, 10th, 11th, 12th. So you don't even get past a couple of pages. Bruh, what the hell? I don't know, bro. And then they said that he took her places. That's why I was hoping the feds would have got involved. They could elicit the Hobbs Act. They can get so much shit done, and the feds need to come in, bro. The feds need, but and again, Epstein list, ain't nobody in jail for that shit, so my bad, bro. But click right here to see how Adrian Broner is a... Just click right here for the Adrian Broner video, or click right here for the playlist, and I'll catch you on the next one.